week 6 in the NFL season already, and every team has played at least 4 games. So now we have our first quarter report. I know some people do this in week 5, but I wanted to get the Jets and 49ers through 4 games so we could really assess everything for all the teams after 4 games have been played at least. But I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Bobby Thompson.
Another edition of GNT Sports Talk. And brother, what are some things that have surprised you and stood out to you in the first quarter of this football season? We're going to go through our biggest surprises, biggest failures. We'll talk about players, maybe some league leaders and stuff, teams on the rise, on the decline. What's something that really stands out?
One thing that really stands out to me is just how good the 49ers have been in these 4 games.
Yeah, they're 4-0.
They have been absolutely outstanding. I know Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been the best at those times, and they've dealt with injuries, especially to Tevin Coleman. The receiving core took a bit of a hit, but they have done exceptionally well. They have bounced back. Their defense is playing absolutely outstanding. Richard Sherman is a force on that defense. He's starting to play just like he used to back when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. The defensive line of the 49ers is scary. And on yesterday, if you guys didn't see, I feel like that was Nick Bosa. Yes, Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa, you got it.
Sorry, yeah. The Nick Bosa's coming out party. It really was. He was a force last night, absolutely outstanding. I think the running back, the carousel of the running back situation in San Fran, I think it works out because Matt Breida was tremendous yesterday. Tevin Cole, whoever they put in that backfield, they ran all over the Browns last night. That is one thing. This team, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't expect them to really do much this year. It really depended on the health of Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's playing it healthy. He was, in the beginning, the first 2 games, he's very inconsistent. He's starting to find his stride now, and you're just seeing how dangerous this team could be going forward, especially with Kyle Shanahan and his offensive mind to make this team just lethal. And the fact that this defense is just playing lights out, they're a huge surprise to me, and I definitely did not expect this whatsoever.
I have a lot of stuff to back up what you're saying, and it's all the 49ers are the biggest surprise in the league. They're right up there with the Buffalo Bills, who are also a very surprising team to me. I also think what the Saints have done without without Breeze. Bridgewater's in there. Okay, but back to 49ers. They run for 200 yards a game, so it's obviously working running back by committee. We've been poking fun at it, but it does work. Breida and Coleman both had around 100 yards yesterday, and they just get the job done. They lead the NFL with 200 yards rushing per game. Ravens are second with 192, and the Minnesota Vikings are up there at third. So, and this offense is really surprising to me. The defense is also, but the offense scoring almost 32 points a game, I didn't expect that at all. And can the NFC West have 3 teams competing for the playoffs? It's another thing that could be potentially surprising. Seattle 4-1 is a touch surprising to me. I'm not to say they're not a good football team, but I thought they'd maybe be closer to 500 for most of the year. And sometimes they don't really start well. But that's something that definitely jumps out at me. Also, the Colts have held their own without Andrew Luck. They're 3-2. They had a huge win against the Chiefs that definitely took us both by surprise. So that's some stuff that surprised me so far. The Packers have been very good, but I'm not as surprised by them. Cowboys and Eagles fighting for the division is what we expected. Trying to look. Ravens over Browns is what we thought too. Colts and Texans 3-2. Actually, we got one big surprise. Raiders.
Yes.
That's a 3-2. I didn't expect them to be playing this well, especially the whole Antonio Brown situation. Kind of was really ugly, but they've moved on from that admirably. And the NFC has a ton of teams over 500 right now. There's not many teams that are out of it. The AFC isn't as strong at this moment, but it's been a very interesting season so far. Who are some teams that have gone the other way that you've really not been happy with or had high expectations for? I haven't met them.
Well, I think we both talked it up in the offseason about the Jets. The Jets have
Jets. I've been wearing this every week.
Have been eaten up by the injury bug all year. I think that the injuries have really derailed them, but other than that, it's been really bad on their part. I'm very disappointed with what I'm seeing. I thought you would see this team change. Seems that there's always something. It's never a dull moment there in Florham Park.
No, it's not, brother, and it's been a lot of high stress this year already.
Yeah, so
It hasn't been fun.
No, it hasn't.
That stat you told me before really gets me still. You want to share it again? This is the one with Christian McCaffrey and the Jets average.
Yeah.
I can't even say it. I'm sick.
So there's a stat that came up today on Twitter, and I thought it was hilarious.
I don't find it so funny.
The Jets are averaging 13 point, I think it was 3 or 4 yards per drive,
which is absolutely horrendous at all phases.
And Christian McCaffrey is averaging 14.2 yards per play.
Wow,
that's crazy.
I don't even know what to say to that. It's just really embarrassing. But I guess Luke Falk is a lot to blame for that. You have a bad offensive line as well. Darnold's played one full game and he wasn't even 100%, but it's pathetic. You have to be better than that. I don't care who's playing. It's really embarrassing. The Jets are the second worst offense in the league, but it actually could be worse because they've had a few defensive touchdowns and special teams, but they are ranked 31st in points scored per game. But they actually have scored less offensive points than the Dolphins, I think, which is really saying something.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Jets, Redskins, and Bengals are the absolute bottom dwellers of the league so far.
Yeah.
There's no hiding from it. We're in the same category as them. It's disgusting. It's pitiful. But we're 0-4, and the Jets are going to get Darnold back. We'll talk more about this once we do our previews. But for now, Jets, it's been a tough season, man. It's just not been a good time for me.
No, it's through 4 games. It seems to me after the first game, the injury to C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams, and especially to Sam Darnold with mono, it derailed the team. Quincy Enunwa going out for the year with a neck injury. His career could be in jeopardy.
Yeah.
It's just, everything was looking up for the Jets. I think the one thing, too, that they really miss is Chris Herndon, who's coming back this week.
That'll be good, too. I'm looking forward to that. I agree.
But
we have a lot of work to do.
It's very disappointing. The offensive line, you guys go get Assembly, you guys get Khalil, and it just still isn't enough. You saw week 1 against the Bills how Sam Darnold was under duress every time he went back to pass. Le'Veon Bell literally had to fight and crawl for every yard he got. And I'll tell you what, you're during these 4 games, they haven't really been. I know. I'm going to be honest. They haven't really been as competitive due to the injuries. They've done what they can. I'll tell you this: there's one person on that team that has really come to play, and that's Jamal Adams. He comes to play. He had the pick 6 against the Patriots in Week 3. He has been a force for this team. He's been a glimmer of hope for them. So keep that going with him. But now they're getting people healthy. Now you get healthy. They're 0-4. Yep. That you know what? I never realized how big. You know what? I'm going to tell you this: the loss of Williamson was huge in the preseason, and then you lose
big too.
Because I think if he wasn't injured, I think the defense would be maybe a little. The secondary still is trash. We get the cornerbacks.
I can't defend that. Although Poulos played very well, I will say.
Yes,
And Harrison stepped up when Drew's been benched, which he's a whole disaster in itself. We don't need to talk about.
No.
Le'Veon has 206 yards rushing, which is not what you would expect or hope for, obviously, but he's doing everything he can. No one's blocking, and everyone's keying on him. He's played well in the passing game, too. He's doing what he has to, but hopefully everything opens up. But I don't want to spend the whole time in the Jets. We've got to open it up a little bit. So, disappointments. How about the Cleveland Browns? Baker Mayfield's been god-awful this year. 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, quarterback rating of 65. And the Browns, 2-3, get absolutely throttled like we talked about before. That was one of the worst games of the year, but probably. It was that bad. I didn't even watch much of it. But 31-3, the Browns had no hope the whole time. Careless turnovers, Odell running around, returning a punt drop. He's been a big disappointment too, honestly.
Yeah.
His stats really aren't what you would expect them to be. He's had 4 games under 50 yards. The only game he really went off was against the Jets.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The the Browns have been an extreme disappointment. Everybody was picking them to be a Super Bowl favorite in the offseason, including, Julian and I also agreed that they got better. We weren't saying they were Super Bowl contenders, but you're starting to see this team. They're a bunch of inmates in the prison. They're running the asylum. Freddie Kitchens is not meant to be a head coach. Obviously, there's a problem. I think Baker Mayfield has been extremely inconsistent.
Horrible.
He's been garbage. I think he's doing more running his mouth than he is making plays on the field.
He can't block anyone either.
Nope, the offensive line is horrendous. Nobody's getting open. It's too much inconsistency on the receiving core. Odell Beckham has been an extremely disappointment. Here's the thing: you still have Jarvis Landry. He's doing what he can, but there's only so much you could do. One thing about this team, I will say, Nick Chubb has been a force for them. That's the only bright spot on defense.
Yeah,
Myles Garrett has been tremendous, but other than that, I think this defense sucks. I'm sorry, I'm not sold.
They've been banged up too. The secondary
with Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward. But this, I agree with you. They've been extreme disappointment, and they're in trouble. I'll tell you this. Yep.
Yeah, they have a tough game against Seattle next week, so we'll see what happens with that. And another disappointment, Falcons, we talked about it. Dan Quinn could be getting fired. He's not looking too good. And it seems to be, the locker room doesn't seem to be together. I've seen some things that Julio, Grady Jarrett, Matt Ryan are questioning if everyone's on the same page, which is never good. They give up 53 points. They just get embarrassed by Houston. Like I said, last week, to hold out hope for them, I think they're done as well. I mean, it's not looking good in Atlanta at all. It pains me to say it, because everyone knows I'm a big Julio guy, but right now it's not happening. And he hasn't even been as good as I would like either, honestly.
Yeah, Dan Quinn, to go start off with Dan Quinn, his seat is extremely hot. Ever since they went to the Super Bowl, ever since then they have done absolutely nothing, and it's been a problem. And one of those problems is losing Keanu Neal the past 2 seasons. That's a huge loss for them. But listen, Matt Ryan is not playing. He's being extremely inconsistent. He's been
disappointing. If you look at the players, 7 interceptions.
It's unacceptable. Julio is doing everything he could do. Grady Jarrett is doing everything they could do. But I will agree, when you watch this team, everybody's off base. Nobody's on the same page. They're just not.
It's not in sync.
They're just not a good football team, and I think they need to assess and change. And in my opinion, I like Dan Quinn. I think when he first got there, you could agree, Jules, he changed the team.
Yeah, it was a little good.
He made them a Super Bowl contender overnight.
It was a quick transition.
Listen, this offense should be one of the best offenses in football consistently every year, and they're not because of the inconsistency at the quarterback position. Don't diss the receivers. Sanu, Ridley, and Julio Jones, and Austin Hooper, by the way.
He's been a big surprise.
Who's been absolutely tremendous.
I have 34 grabs, 363 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Hooper. And I also think Evan Ingram's been well. Both of them are around the same numbers, actually. It's pretty interesting. Ingram 33 and 373. But, Hooper's been good. They have the receivers. Freeman's been okay. Would like to see more.
He's starting to get hotter and hotter every week.
It's looking a little bit better, and they play the Cardinals next week, so if they don't win that game, it's really over.
In my opinion, if you lose to the Arizona Cardinals, Dan Quinn's got to go. I'm sorry.
That might be the breaking point.
That's the straw that will break the camel's back.
It's like Jay Gruden got fired. The first coach got fired. We got to talk about that. You guys did it to him. You told me this before the week started, actually. So this is a good take by you, that you said that you guys would be the ones that get him fired.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole story with the blunt that he was smoking, all that. I'm sure you saw that video.
Yeah. That was actually hilarious. That was the night before the game, too. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
But it's you know what? Jay Gruden, I'm sorry. It's time to move on. There's a lot of dysfunction in D.C. with the Redskins. And I'm not talking about the team name. So I'm talking about everything. I think Dan Snyder, they were talking about him this morning on the radio.
Yeah.
And yesterday they were saying that he wants to be Jerry Jones, but no one will ever follow him like Jerry. He that guy who, and for those of you who don't know, he's the owner of the Redskins.
Yeah.
He's
horrible.
He's terrible. It's bad. And there's a lot of things with this team with the Redskins. I think the defensive line is okay. After watching them against the Patriots, they have a future. They got a lot of studs on that team on defensive line. I'll tell you this one thing, Julian, a disappointment is Josh Norman. He is not what he used to be anymore.
No, and it's really apparent that he's not. The Redskins are a bad football team. I didn't think they'd be this bad. I'm not going to say they're a disappointment because we didn't expect much from them.
No, of course
This is
not.
like way worse than we expected it to be. You know what other team that's actually somewhat disappointing?
What?
And I'm sure we've talked about them at length, the whole Melvin Gordon situation. Chargers have left a
Yes.
lot to be desired for me. 2-3 in the season. They have 2 ugly losses on their resume as well. They lost to the Lions and the Broncos in games they easily could have had, and it just hasn't been clicking for the Chargers. They do start like this sometimes, and we'll see if they can get it turned around. They play the Steelers this week, so that might be a good landing spot. Now they have a third-string quarterback, so that's another disappointment for me. And another player, I'm sure you agree with this, Jared Goff. He's been disappointing.
Yes, I will go in as well on to start with the Chargers. They've been extremely disappointing. This team should be one of the best teams in football. I've raved on them the past 2 seasons, and this year they're starting to make me eat crow. It's really bad. The defense isn't playing well. The offense is just not there. They get Melvin Gordon back. They don't know how to split the carries between the two. It's a problem. And Phillip Rivers, I'm sorry, I don't think he's playing well at all. The game I saw against Denver, he was terrible. He was throwing red zone interceptions. You're not going to win if you throw interceptions in the red zone. I'm sorry. And with Jared Goff, ever since, it seems to me that's the trend. Any quarterback that gets paid, they seem to just fall off the face of the earth. They just don't play well.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, and listen, with the Rams, if they want to be successful and keep moving on, you got to make sure that guy plays at a top level like he did last year. And right now you're 3-2. You're behind the 49ers, and you're behind the Seahawks. So you got to win some games.
And they actually play the 49ers this week, so that's going to be a big matchup for them.
Yes, it
to
is.
See if they can get back on track.
We'll see if this is a game for both teams. We'll see if
This
the
is a big for real
49ers
test.
We'll see if the 49ers are contenders or pretenders, and we'll see if the Rams are for real or if they're a bust.
Yeah, I think the 49ers could still contend if they lose this game, but I get what you're saying. If they really put their foot down, go to 5-0, that'd be a big.
This is a good team. If they go to 5-0, this is a huge statement.
Playoffs,
yes, you do.
At that point. So another thing I want to bring up, and maybe we'll end off this, the MVP debate, and I think it actually is one. I know you were talking about Patty Mahomes last week, and he really had a bad game. He was banged up. He was not himself, you could tell. Just 10 points. I couldn't believe it. The Chiefs only put up 10 points. And the Colts defense is pretty banged up, too. Very surprising. Mahomes has 1,830 yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks, 65%. His quarterback rating's 115. But I'm going to raise you Russell Wilson. 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, no picks, 73% completion. And his rating's 126 is through the roof, and he's also ran for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think it's a nice 2-way race right now for the MVP between those two.
You're not going to get an argument out of me. I think Russell Wilson's been absolutely tremendous, and you see him. He hasn't. You look at him. You lose Doug Baldwin in the offseason. You draft DK Metcalf. Everyone was knocking on him. He only runs his route tree is very minimal. But I'll tell you what.
He's perfect for their offense.
Yes, he is. Every time you doubt this guy, you give him nothing, he will turn that nothing into something. Tyler Lockett has been a force for him. Will freaking Disley is just a touchdown vulture at the tight end position. Who the hell is Will Disley?
This is from all the time.
But I'll tell you this: he's
starting to make plays and do work.
Yes, he is. You said this right, Jules, and I like this. DK Metcalf was destined to be a Seahawk. That offense is primed for him to be successful. They use him in every way. He catches the football. He's a playmaker for them so far early in the year. And Russell Wilson is just doing what he does. He doesn't have the big-time playmakers anymore. the running back situation, Carson, was it Penny? He still has.
Penny's still with them.
And listen, he is just, you give him. Here's what he does. I'm going to tell you this. There's only two guys who I feel can take bums off the streets and turn them into Pro Bowlers. Russell Wilson and Tom Brady. That's what I think.
These
two very.
I think Aaron Rodgers could do that a little bit too.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers could definitely.
I'll put Patty in that class.
Okay, all right. So a small group.
I get what you're saying though.
But I will say that Russell Wilson is definitely. It's a two-way race between Mahomes and Wilson.
Early on, at least.
And Russell Wilson. It seems to me, it's just like I said. Every week he comes out, he doesn't have the best players. He'll just come out and just contribute no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. So, is there anything else you'd like to add for the quarterly report?
I think we got it all. Really, I really do.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this edition of GNC Sports Talk. We'll be previewing Patriots, Giants, and then we'll have our whole weekly rundowns and all that good stuff. That'll be posted in the upcoming days. So for this edition, I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Bobby Thompson.
Follow, like, subscribe,
sponsor,
and let us know what you think.